starting in 5 seconds. We have ushered in a new era of transparency. We have given a corruption-free government. The Real Estate Act 2016 and Benami Transaction Prohibition Act 1988 are helping to bring transparency in the real estate sector. The Fugitive Economic Offenders Act 2018 will help confiscate and dispose of the assets of economic offenders who escape the jurisdiction of the laws in India. Additionally, we conducted transparent auction of natural resources including coal and spectrum. We have walked the talk. As a tribute to Mahatma Gandhi's 150th birth anniversary in 2019, our government initiated the world's largest behavioral change movement with the Swachh Bharat mission. India has achieved 98% rural sanitation coverage and as many as 5.45 lakh villages have been declared open defecation free. It is holistic program and has succeeded in changing the mindset of our people. With the people participating, they transformed it from a government scheme to a national movement. I thank the 130 crore people of the nation for the success of Swachh Bharat Abhiyan who adopted it wholeheartedly. The poor have the first right on the resources of the nation. The government, while maintaining the existing reservation for SC, ST, other backward classes, have now ensured 10% reservation in educational institutions and government services for poor. In these institutions, around 25% extra seats will be provided so that there is no shortfall of presently available reserved seats for any class. To provide food grains at affordable prices to the poor and middle classes, about rupees 1.70 thousand crores were spent in the year 2018-19, which is almost double the amount of rupees 92,000 crores spent in the year 2013-14. We ensured that everyone gets food and none goes to sleep hungry. Rupees 60,000 crores are being allocated for Manrega in 2019-20. Additional amount would be provided if required. We have worked to bridge the urban-rural divide in the country. Honorable members in the August House, most of whom are from rural areas, will agree that several times in the past only empty promises have been made to people living in our villages. During the last 5 years, we have undertaken targeted expenditure to improve their quality of life in all its dimensions. Madam Speaker, till the year 2014, about 2.5 crore families were forced to live the life of 18th century without electricity. Under Sobhagya Yojana, we provided free electricity connection to almost every household. By March 2019, all willing families will get electricity connection. In mission mode, we have provided 143 crore LED bulbs with the participation of private sector. This has resulted into a savings of approximately rupees 50,000 crore per year in electricity bills of poor and middle class families. The past 5 years have seen massive scale up of healthcare. Earlier, a poor man used to be in dilemma whether to fulfill daily needs of the family or save the life of an ailing member. This situation has deeply pained our Honorable Prime Minister. We launched the world's largest healthcare program, Ayushman Bharat, to provide medical treatment to nearly 50 crore people. Already close to 10 lakh patients have benefited for medical treatment which would have cost them rupees 3000 crore through free treatment made available under the scheme. Lakhs of poor and middle class people are also benefiting from reduction in the prices of essential medicines, cardiac stents, and knee implants, and availability of medicines at affordable prices through Pradhan Mantri Jan Aushadhi Kendras. There are 21 AIMS operating or being established in the country presently. 14 of these 21 AIMS have been announced since 2014. I am happy to announce setting up of new the 22nd AIMS in Haryana. The aspirational district program is providing targeted development to the 115 most backward districts of the country. The program has achieved notable results with improved performance on all indicators: health and nutrition, education, agriculture and water resources, financial inclusion and skill development. Madam Speaker, our hard-working farmers were not getting the full value of their produce. With an aim to double the income of farmers, our government, for the first time in history, has fixed the minimum spot price of all 22 crops at minimum 50% more than the cost. Agriculture continues to be the main driver of the rural economy. Our hard-working farmers, supported by pro-farmer policies of our government in the past 4.5 years, have produced agriculture commodities in record quantities. Declining prices of agriculture commodities in the international market and fall in food inflation in India since 2017-18 relative to non-food sector have however reduced the returns from farming. Small and fragmented land holdings on account of repeated divisions has also contributed in decline in the income of the farmer family. Hence, there is a need for providing structured income support to the poor land holders. Stop. Starting in 5 seconds. Though this is the first occasion on which I have in person attended a session of UNESCO, I may claim that in spirit I have always been with you and followed your deliberations and activities with the keenest interest and sympathy. This I have done as I feel that, in view of the disaster which threatens the future of mankind, UNESCO alone offers a faint ray of hope. Mankind has, in the course of the last century, made phenomenal advances in knowledge and material prosperity, but this progress has not been reflected in man's moral and political achievements. Increased knowledge has therefore led not only to a greater provision for comfort and victory over want and disease, but also, alas, to an increase in man's power for destruction and death. This power is so great today that unless all men have a sense of community, it may well lead to common ruin for all. It is only through a re education of man that we can create that sense of psychological unity and common citizenship which the technological unity achieved by the advance of modern science requires of man. This is the reason why in 1949, when the Indian National Commission for Cooperation with UNESCO was founded, I placed such great emphasis on the importance of UNESCO's work. I pointed out with regret that while the United Nations were founded for the achievements of peace and unity, the result had in fact been the division of the world into two varying camps. It is true that some progress has been achieved here in place of a multitude of nations, each struggling on its way. The United Nations present a picture of two solid blocks arrayed one against the other. Nevertheless, to any man who looks forward to cooperation and friendship among nations, this picture can bring no message of hope. It seems that the only hope lies in UNESCO, which asks to achieve unity in the field of education, science, agriculture, even among those who are politically divided. I feel that if UNESCO could achieve its objectives and create understandings between different nations on the cultural plan, there is hope that with time the cultural understanding would make itself felt in the economic and political fields also. In the course of the last 2 years, my hope in UNESCO and apprehensions about the United Nations have both increased. It is true that UNESCO is barely half a dozen years old, but these few years have been of immense significance for the future of man. This period has revealed fissures in our political and intellectual attitudes, which, unless they are checked on time, may well involve the whole of humanity in one man, one common run. It is therefore necessary that we should attempt to evaluate what UNESCO has done during these turbulent years and survey its past achievements so that we can map out with greater confidence the course of its future action. The aim of UNESCO is to bring nations together through education, science, and culture. Even since its foundation, UNESCO has yearly passed resolutions and adopted programs to achieve that end. One of the greatest achievements of UNESCO has been to help frame a new and universal declaration of human rights, which has since been adopted by the United Nations. Similarly, in the field of technical assistance to underdeveloped countries, the restoration of educational and cultural facilities in the war devastated countries, and in the exchange of persons and ideas between different nations, considerable progress has been achieved. Even more important is the project which UNESCO seeks to adopt for the provision of fundamental education to immense areas of the world as yet without adequate facilities. It is a sad reflection on our civilization that almost three-fourths of the adult population of the world are still unlettered. Literacy and ignorance directly contradict all our professions for the rights of man and constitute a threat to universal democracy, peace, and progress. I should like to congratulate UNESCO upon its realization that it is only by improving the human material through education in the less fortunate areas of the world that prospects of world peace can be secured. While no one can for a moment question the program of UNESCO in these fields, I feel sure that you, Mr. President, and you, Mr. Director General, will agree with me that UNESCO cannot succeed in its objectives so long as the fear of war and destruction cripple the creative energies of man. Unless this threat can averted, all our efforts to advance education, science, and culture seem a mockery. If the world is to be saved from disaster, we must, as intelligent men and women, decide what steps UNESCO can take to avoid the threat of war. It will not do to say that the questions of war and peace are primarily political and do not concern UNESCO, which is the body devoted to the advancement of education, science, and culture, that cannot be so always as such. Stop. Starting in 5 seconds. Mr. Vice Chairman, sir, I rise to support the 6th schedule to the Constitution Bill 1988, which is brought on the floor of this House. Sir, it is a welcome measure in the right direction. This bill seeks to devolve more powers to the district councils. Sir, in the district councils, the members are the tribals. Sir, the founding fathers of the Constitution of India, through their wisdom and political foresight, recognized the very delicate sentiments, culture, and traditions of the tribals. They foresaw that unless certain protections are given to the tribals in the management of their affairs, they will be submerged in the process of normalization along with the most or more advanced people of the plains. This aspect was recognized not only by the founding fathers of the Constitution but by the alien rulers as well. According to 1937 Act, certain areas of Assam in the northeastern region were kept excluded to the looked after by the governor. This was also a recognition to the very peculiar feature prevailing in the tribal area. This was intended to protect the innocent tribals from being exploited by more advanced people of the plains. So, when the constitution was drafted, this special provision was made to protect the interests of the tribals, particularly in the northeastern region. Sir, even before the drafting of the Constitution of India, the tribal in the northeastern region agitated and they showed their resentment that when the British leave the country, they should be kept in such a way that their culture and their tradition are safeguarded. When the subcommittee of the Constituent Assembly, in which Brother Basu was also a member, when they visited Kohima, they were told that the Nagas want a separate home. In other words, they do not want to lose their identities, they want to preserve their culture, they want to preserve their traditions. Similar is the case of Mizoram, Meghalaya, and other tribal areas. In this amendment, there are some features for which this House should not have a iota of doubts. If you just look at the face of the bill, a question would arise that when the entire state is predominantly tribal, why should we have tribal councils that even among the tribals there are some minorities within the tribals who have to be cared. When we devolve powers in the district council or at the grassroots levels, it clearly shows the intention of the government to extend the democratic process even at the grassroots level so that this would give more opportunities to the people for deeper involvement in the scheme of things in the whole country. If we all the time look at the tribals as backward and if we do not give opportunity to them to develop, how can they be trained in the art of governance? How can they be trained in the running of affairs the of their own state? I feel that devolution of more powers to the local self government, especially in the tribal areas, is a very welcome feature and is in the right direction. I am afraid that while giving more powers to the council, if we do not again give them financial powers, I think this will be like an anti drama. Without financial powers, how can they manage? Therefore, in the amendment, I think you have rightly given more financial powers for the management of the district councils. Now, a suspicion has arisen if we do not allow the legislators to attend the district council. Does it mean a distrust? I don't think so. Even if the governor has to use his discretion, he has to consult the council of ministers. Therefore, the question of misuse of discretionary power of the governor, I think, would not arise. And also, use of discretion is on matters pertaining to the progress of these tribals, and therefore, we should not misconstrue the spirit of the amendment which we are having before us. In Tripura, the tribal are the real inhabitants, but because of historical reasons, because of political reasons, they are completely submerged by outside people, and therefore, specially for Tripura, a special provision to safeguard the interests of the tribals in the matter of appointments, in matter of law, in matters of land, in matters of their traditions and customs shall have to be worked out. I would request the government to ensure that more protection and more safeguards are initiated, especially for the tribal minorities of Tripura. After all, in their own home, they are finding themselves in a minority, and therefore, it is our moral obligation to ensure their safety, their security, and their future. I do not want to dwell much on this. I only wish that the district council in Mizoram, which has been envisaged in this amending bill, works well. The agreement with Mr. Laldenga also clearly indicate that protection would be given to those minorities, which is good it for the people here. Stop. Starting in 5 seconds. Honorable Mr. Vice Chairman, I would like to submit that the 6th schedule to the Constitution Amendment Bill 1988 will curb the powers of the autonomous district councils. With the adoption of the bill, the undesirable interference of the state government with the functionings of the councils will increase. This will make the autonomous district councils puppets in the hands of the state governments, and as a result of which the objective with which the autonomous district councils were constituted will be frustrated. Therefore, I oppose this bill tooth and nail. Sir, the demands of the district councils in the northeastern regions are for more powers. It is a fact that the district councils held meetings for more powers. They submitted a memorandum to the central government for the same purpose. They wanted that in their daily work and in their developmental works, the state governments should not interfere. They feel that interference from the state government will hamper the developmental works within their respective jurisdictions. The idea was that the autonomous district councils should get all opportunities to function independently on the basis of their allotted powers. I shall show how this bill curbs the powers of the autonomous district councils even in day-to-day matter within the jurisdiction of an autonomous district council. The council of ministers of a state is interfering. Under paragraph 1 of the 6th schedule to the Constitution, the autonomous district council are empowered to reconstitute their respective areas. A council can exclude an area from its jurisdiction where the tribals are in minority and instead include a neighboring area where the tribals are in majority. It is also provided for in the said provisions of the 6th schedule that the governors shall approve the redetermination of areas by the councils. Under the present bill, the governors will have to consult their respective council of ministers when areas will be redetermined by the councils. It means the state governments have been empowered to interfere with the reconstitution of the district councils. Again, under the existing 6th schedule of the governors are empowered to nominate 4 members to the autonomous district councils, but now under the present bill the governors will be forced to consult the council of ministers while nominating 4 members to the said councils. The district council is empowered to make rules for the conduct of its business. Under paragraph 4 of the 6th schedule to the Constitution, a regional council or district council shall have power to make rules regulating the constitution of village councils and codes with the previous approval of the governor. They will also have power to make rules regulating the procedure to be followed by village councils or courts in the trial of suits and cases with the previous approval of the governor. But now, under the present bill, the governor will be compelled to take the advice of the Council of Ministers in such matters. Consequently, the regional council or the district council will have to remain at the mercy of the state government even for laying own procedures for the conduct of its business. Under paragraph 6 of the 6th schedule to the Constitution, the district council can establish primary schools. Under the same paragraph, the district council can prescribe the language in which the education is to be imparted to primary students. Again, under the same paragraph, the district council can construct dispensaries, markets, and roads and can manage ferries, fisheries, and waterways. The district council can make regulations for the regulation and control of all these activities with the approval of the governor. But now, under the present bill, the governor will have to take the approval of the Council of Ministers while approving of the regulations made by the district council. Consequently, the state government has been empowered to interfere with the development work of the district council. Under paragraph 9 of the 6th schedule to the Constitution, if any dispute arises over the share of royalties for exploitation of mineral resources between the state government and the district council, the dispute shall be referred to the governor and his decision thereon shall be final. But under the present bill, the decision of the state government in such a matter shall be final, and in this manner the district council will be deprived of its due share of royalty. The present bill seeks to give more powers to the state government to interfere with the discretionary power of the governor. At the same time, all democratic norms are being flouted to curb the powers of the district council by the Council of Ministers. Under paragraph 15 of the 6th schedule to the Constitution, the governor can annul a legislation of the district council with the approval of the state legislature if it is likely to endanger the safety of India or is likely to be prejudicial to public order. But now, under the present bill, the governor will not be required to take approval of the state legislature. Stop. Starting in 5 seconds. Sir, another aspect of the postal department, a very important one, is the wonderful organization of postal savings banks. This organization also covers very nook and corner of our country. There are 650 lakh account holders and rupees 14,000 crores of deposits. It is wonderful banking system encouraging the saving effort even in small villages, and we want to develop it further and modernize it further. We have been able to make the savings bank a part of the national banking system by joining with the clearing house system in the bigger cities, which means that our checks can be handled in a very fast way in the clearing house and everything can be taken care or as if we are using that service. Sir, some points have been mentioned regarding the working of the postal service, particularly the EDPs and the RMS side of it. Many honorable members have raised it and they have shown concern that we are not doing much for the ERDPs. The first thing about the ERDPs, when we consider how much they are paid, is that they are not whole-time government servant. They are not even temporary government servants in that sense. When an EDP is recruited, one of the considerations is that he has already some other occupation and his working hours are calculated according to the workload, and every year his emoluments are revised in the light of the work that he is handling. It is in no case more than 5 hours, because after that we upgrade the post office and a regular department man gets appointed. We have a full point system in this, and once that stage is reached, it is converted into this. Another advantage they have is that they are in the channel of promotion in the regular department after a certain time, which means that they do not remain EDPs all their lives, but they sort of move into a permanent cadre of the department. A committee has been formed. When a pay commission is formed by the Government of India, we also appointed a committee to go into the emolument of EDPs. The same has been done this time. Mr. Sharma is heading the one-man committee and he is going to give his report very soon. Now, sir, about the RMS, this system was changed and a few years back because of various reasons. The main reason being that it took a long time to the shorting in the trainings, and when the trains move fast and they not stop at various stations, the time in a fast train is not enough to really do the kind of shorting that was done before. Apart from this, there are other considerations like fast moving mails. Points have been made that after this year, this new system has been introduced. It has meant delays of as much as 7 days or 3 days. Figures were mentioned. Sir, as promised by the former minister, we have made 2 reviews of it, not one, and we are again trying to review this to see how the new modified system has been working. It has been found to be satisfactory in most places, and instead of delaying, it has accelerated the movement of mails, particularly the newspaper and second class mail cards, etc., which were tremendously delayed in the old days, now get the same priority as first class mails. So, in totality, it is a much better system considered from every point of view. So far as the interests of the employees are concerned, no one has been declared surplus. They have not even been moved from their places of work. Within the department itself, we are trying to adjust them in sections which are overloaded. We are trying to see that they are disturbed least by this new change. Now I will come to some of the points which will cover other points also which were raised in the house. My friend mentioned about the interception of telephone calls and mail. Section 26 of the Indian Post Offices Act makes similar provision in this respect, which are very much relevant in this context. This matter was referred to the Law Commission and they have made certain recommendations. They say that this need not be abolished, but certain safeguards by way of provision for review, etc., should be made. We have accepted this recommendation and we are incorporating an amendment through legislation. Actually, one amendment was introduced but which lapsed with the lapse of the last Lok Sabha. We want to bring it again in accordance with the recommendation of the Law Commission. Therefore, this side would be looked after. I need not say that this is resorted to in extreme cases when really problem of national interest arise. The Law Commission has gone thoroughly into these things and we have accepted this recommendation and implemented all the suggestions. Stop. Starting in 5 seconds. Sir, efficient use of land resources is a strong imperative. States will be encouraged to adopt unique land parcel identification number to facilitate IT-based management of records. The facility for transliteration of land records across any of the Schedule 8 languages will be also be rolled out. The adoption or linkage with National Generic Document Registration System with the One Nation, One Registration software will be promoted as an option for uniform process for registration and anywhere registration of deeds and documents. Necessary amendments in the code will be carried out to enhance the efficiency of the resolution process and facilitate cross-border insolvency resolution. Several IT-based systems have been established for accelerate registration of new companies. Now, the Center for Processing Accelerate Corporate Exit with Process Re-engineering will be established to facilitate and speed up the voluntary winding up of these companies from the currently required 2 years to less than 6 months. Government rules have recently been modernized for the needs the Amritkal. The new rules have been benefited from the inputs from various stakeholders. The modernized rules allow use of transparent quality criteria besides cost in evaluation of complex tenders. Provisions have been made for payment of 75% of running bills mandatorily within 10 days and for encouraging settlement of disputes through conciliation. As a further step to enhance transparency and to reduce delays in the payments, a completely paperless end-to-end online e-bill system will be launched for use by all central ministries for their procurements. The system will enable the suppliers and contractors to submit online their digitally signed bills and claims and track their status from anywhere. To reduce indirect cost for suppliers and work constructors, the use of surety bonds as a substitute for bank guarantee will be made acceptable in government procurements. Business such as gold imports may also find this useful. IRDAI has given the framework for issue of surety bonds by insurance companies. The animation, visual effects, gaming and comic sector offers immense potential to employ youth. An AVGC promotion task force with all stakeholders will be set up to recommend ways to realize this and build domestic capacity for serving our markets and the global demand. Telecommunication in general and 5G technology in particular can enable growth and offer job opportunities. Required spectrum auctions will be conducted in 2022. A scheme for design-led manufacturing will be launched to build a strong ecosystem for 5G as a part of the production-linked incentive scheme to enable affordable broadband and mobile service proliferation in rural and remote areas. 5% of annual collections under the Universal Service Obligation Fund will be allocated. This will promote R&D and commercialization of technologies and solutions. Our vision is that all villages and their residents should have the same access to e-services, communication facilities and digital resources as urban areas and their residents. The contracts for laying optical fiber in all villages, including remote areas, will be awarded under the BharatNet project through PPP in 2022-23. Completion is expected in 2025. Measures will be taken to enable better and more efficient use of the optical fiber. The Special Economic Zones Act will be replaced with a new legislation that will enable the states to become partners in development of enterprise and service hubs. This will cover all large existing and new industrial enclaves to optimally utilize available infrastructure and enhance competitiveness of exports. Our government is committed to reducing imports and promoting Atmanirbharta in equipment for the armed forces. 68% of the capital procurement budget will be earmarked for domestic industry in 2022-23, up from 58% in 2021-22. Defense R&D will be opened up for industry, startups and academy with 25% of defense R&D budget earmarked. Private industry will be encouraged to take up design and development of military platforms and equipment in collaboration with DRDO and other organizations through SPV model. An independent nodal umbrella body will be set up for meeting wide-ranging testing and certification requirements. Artificial intelligence, geospatial systems and drones, semiconductor and its ecosystem, space economy, genomics, pharmaceuticals, green energy, and clean mobility system have immense potential to assist sustainable development at scale and modernize the country. They provide employment opportunities for youth and make Indian industry more efficient and cooperative competitive. Supportive policies, light touch regulations, facilitative actions to build domestic capacities, and promotion of research and development will guide the government's approach for R&D in these sunrise opportunities. In addition to efforts of collaboration among academy, industry, and public institutions, government contribution will be provided. The risks of climate change are the strongest negative externalities that affect India and other countries. As Honorable Prime Minister said at the COP26 summit in Glasgow last November, what is needed today is mindful and deliberate utilization instead of mindless and destructive consumption. Stop. Starting in 5 seconds. This strategy opens up huge employment opportunities and will take the country on a sustainable development path. This budget proposes several near-term and long-term actions accordingly to facilitate domestic manufacturing for the ambitious goal of 280 GW of installed solar capacity by 2030. An additional allocation of rupees 19,500 crore for production linked incentive for manufacture of high efficiency modules with priority to fully integrated manufacturing units from polysilicon to solar PV modules will be made. The circular economy transition is expected to help in productivity enhancement as well as creating large opportunities for new businesses and jobs. The action plans for 10 sectors such as electronic waste, end of life vehicles, used oil waste, and toxic and hazardous industrial waste are ready. The focus now will be on addressing important cross cutting issues of infrastructure, reverse logistics, technology upgradation, and integration with informal sector. This will be supported by active public policies covering regulations, extending producers' responsibilities framework, and innovation facilitation. 5 to 7% biomass pellets will be co-fired in thermal power plants, resulting in CO2 savings of 38 MMT annually. This will also provide extra income to farmers and job opportunities to local and help avoid stubble burning in agriculture fields. Saving energy is an important aspect of energy management. Hence, energy efficiency and savings measures will be promoted. This will be done in large commercial buildings through the energy service company business model. It will facilitate capacity building and awareness for energy audits, performance contracts, and common measurement and verification protocol. 4 pilot projects for coal gasification and conversion of coal into chemicals required for the industry will be set up to evolve technical and financial viability. The policies and required legislative changes to promote agroforestry and private forestry will be brought in. In addition, financial support will be provided to farmers belonging to scheduled castes and scheduled tribes who want to take up agroforestry. Capital investment holds the key to speedy and sustained economic revival and consolidation through its multiplier effect. Capital investment also helps in creating employment opportunities, inducing enhanced demand for manufactured inputs from large industries and MSMEs, services from professionals, and help farmers through better agri infrastructure. The economy has shown strong resilience to come out of the effects of the pandemic with high growth. However, we need to sustain that level to make up for the setback of 2020-21. As outlined earlier, the continuous cycle of investment requires public investment to crowd in private investment. At this stage, private investments seems to require that support to rise to their potential and to the need of the economy. Public investment must continue to take the lead and pump prime the private investment and demand in 2022-23. Considering the above imperative, the outlay for capital expenditure in the union budget is once again being stepped up sharply by 37% from rupees 6 lakh crore in the current year to rupees 7.50 lakh crore in 2022-23. This has increased to more than 2.2 times the expenditure of 2019-20. With this investment taken together with the provisions made for creation of capital assets through grants in aid to states, the effective capital expenditure of the central government is estimated at rupees 10.68 lakh crore in 2022-23, which will be about 4.1% of GDP. As a part of the government's overall market borrowings in 2022-23, sovereign green bonds will be issued for mobilizing resources for green infrastructure. The proceeds will be deployed in public sector projects which will in reducing the carbon intensity of the economy. World-class foreign universities and institutions will be allowed in the gift city to offer courses in financial management, fintech, science, technology, engineering and mathematics free from domestic regulations except those by IFSCA to facilitate availability of high-end human resources for financial service and technology. Data centers and energy storage systems, including dense charging infrastructure and grid-scale battery systems, will be included in the harmonized list of infrastructure. This will facilitate credit availability for digital infrastructure and clean energy storage. Venture capital and private equity invested more than rupees 5.5 lakh crore last year, facilitating one of the largest startup, and growth ecosystem. Scaling up this investment requires a holistic examination of regulatory and other frictions. An expert committee will be set up to examine to suggest appropriate measures. Government backed funds, NIIF and SIDBI fund of funds have provided scale capital, creating a multiplier effect for encouraging important sunrise sector such as climate action, deep tech, digital economy, pharma and agri-tech. The government will promote thematic funds for the blended finance, with the government shares being limited to 20% and the funds being managed by private funds managers for financing the infrastructure needs. The stepping up of public investment will need to be complemented by private capital at a significant scale. Measures will be taken to enhance financial viability of projects, including PPP of for new projects. Stop. Starting in 5 seconds. Rule 17 provides for conditions of allotment. Since much turns on the impact of this rule, we would refer to the same. Conditions of allotment and sales of site. The allotment of a site under these rules shall be subject to the one the allottee shall, within a period of 15 days from the date of receipt of the notice of allotment, pay to the board 12.5% of the price of the site, and if no such payment is made, the allottee shall be deemed to have declined the allotment. To the balance of the value of the shall be paid within 90 days from the date of receipt of the notice of allotment, or such extended period not exceeding 1 year as a chairman may specify. Interest at 15% shall be paid on the said amount for the extended period. If the said amount is not paid within the period of 90 days or the extended period, the earnest money paid by the allottee shall be liable to forfeiture and the allotment may be cancelled. Whose annual income does not exceed 3,600 rupees, he may choose to pay the balance value of the site in quarterly, half-yearly, or annual installments, and the rate of interest on the said amount for the extended period for quarterly payments will be 2%, for half-yearly payments will be 3 payments percent, and annual payments 4%. B. Whose annual income exceeds 3,600 rupees but does not exceed 7,200 rupees, interest at 12% per annum shall be paid on the said amount for the extended period. Provided further that where an allottee is a person belonging to a scheduled caste or scheduled tribe or other backward classes, or a nomadic tribe or a wandering tribe or a denotified tribe or a family of defense personnel killed or disabled during the recent war, and whose annual income from all resources all sources does not exceeds rupees 5,000, the balance of the value of the site required to be paid under this sub rule shall be paid by him without interest within a period of 6 years from the date of receipt of the notice of allotment. 3. Until the site is conveyed to the allotee, the amount paid by the allotee for the purchase of the site shall be held by the board as security deposit. After payment under sub-rule 2nd is made of, the board shall be intimate the allotee the actual measurements of the site and the particulars thereof, and a lease cum sale agreement in form 2nd shall thereafter be executed by the allotee and the board and the registered by the allotee. If the agreement is not executed within 45 days after the board has intimated the actual measurements and particulars of the site to the allotee, the earnest money paid by the allotee may be forfeited, the allotment of the site may be cancelled, and the amount paid by the allotee after deducting the earnest money refunded to him. Every allotee shall construct a building on the site in accordance with the plans and designs approved by the board. If in any case it is considered necessary to add any additional conditions in the agreement, the board may make such additions. Approval of the City of Bangalore Municipal Corporation for the plans and designs shall be necessary when the layout in which the site is situated is transferred to the control of the said corporation. 5. The allotee shall comply with the conditions of the agreement executed by him and the buildings and other by for the law of the board or the corporation as the case may be for the time being in force. 6. The allotee shall construct a building within a period of 2 years from the date of execution of the agreement or such extended period in any specified case by written order permits. If the building is not constructed within the said period, the allotment may, after reasonable notice to the allotee, be cancelled, the agreement revoked, the lease determined, and the allotee evicted from the site by the board, and after forfeiting 12.5% of the value of the site paid by the allotee, the board shall refund the balance to the allotee. 7. On the expiry of the period of 10 years, and if the allotment has not been cancelled or the lease has not been determined in accordance with these rules or the terms of the agreement, in the meanwhile the board shall by notice call upon the allotee to get the sale deed of the site executed at his own cost within the time specified in the said notice. B. If the allotee fails to get the sale deed executed within the time so specified, the board shall itself execute the same and recover the cost and other charges, if any incidental thereto, from the allotee, as if the same are amount due to the board. Stop. Starting in 5 seconds. We now come to the regulations that can be framed relating to private unaided professional institutions. It would be unfair to apply the same rules and regulations regulating admission to both aided and unaided professional institutions. It must be borne in mind that unaided professional institutions are entitled to autonomy in their administration, while at the same time they do not forego or discard the principle of merit. It would therefore be permissible for the university or the government at the time of granting recognition to require a private unaided institution to provide for merit based selection, while at the same time giving the management sufficient discretion in admitting students. This can be done through various methods. For instance, a certain percentage of the seats can be reserved for admission by the management out of those students who have passed the common entrance test held by itself or by the state or university and have applied to the college concerned for admission, while the rest of the seats may be filed up on the basis of counseling by the state agency. This will incidentally take care of poorer and backward section of the society. The prescription of percentage for this purpose has to be done by the government according to the local needs, and different percentage can be fixed for minority, unaided and non-minority, unaided and professional colleges. The same principles may be applied to other non-professional but unaided educational institutions, that is, graduation and post-graduation non-professional colleges or institutes. There is no controversy relating to provisions of the Act and rules where procedure for admission to professional colleges is prescribed. The only dispute that arises for our consideration is validity of Rule 12, which was introduced on 19th June 2019. The object of Rule 12 bracket 8a is to ensure that all admissions to medical institutions are based on merit and to bar students of lesser merit from getting admission to better colleges. The notice issued by the Director General of Health Services, Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, Government of India has been referred to by the High Court in its order dated 24th April 2019. The said letter highlights the activity participation of a group of students who were blocking all India quota seats in second round of counseling deliberately for financial gratification without intention to join the medical college for doing medical degree. During the said period, in the letter, nearly 1,000 identified students did not join after first round. They were being monitored to find out whether they were taking admission at least in second round. DGHS proposed severe penal action against those indulging in such activities. Having been informed of this maniac, this court passed an order barring students who take admission in all India quota seats from being allowed to vacate seats after second round of counseling. All vacant seats after last round of counseling were directed to be filed up from a list that is forwarded to the institution in the ratio of 10 times to the number of vacancies to ensure that all stray vacancies are filled. The contention of the appellants is that being asked to keep seats unfilled amounts to an unreasonable restriction on their right to carry on their occupation guaranteed under Article 19 bracket A bracket G of the Constitution of India. Even assuming the object of the rule is to ensure that lesser meritorious candidates do not get admission to better colleges, the measure adopted by the government in keeping seats vacant is disproportionate. This court in state of Tamil Nadu versus P. Krishnamurthy and others held that a subordinate legislation can be challenged on the following grounds: A. Lack of legislative competence to make the subordinate legislation. B. Violation of fundamental rights guaranteed under the Constitution of India. C. Violation of any provision of the Constitution of India. D. Failure to conform to the statute under which it is made or exceeding the limits of authority conferred by the enabling act. E. Repugnancy to the laws of the land, that is, any enactment. F. Manifest arbitrariness or unreasonableness. It is relevant to examine whether a subordinate legislation can be declared as unconstitutional on the principle of proportionality. This court in Kerala State Beverages Corporation Limited versus P. Suresh held the challenge to the order dated 7th October 2004 by which the respondents were deprived of an opportunity of being considered for employment is on the ground of violation of Article 14, 19, and 21 of the Constitution of India. Lord Diplock in Council of Civil Service Unions versus Ministry for the Civil Services held that the interference with an administrative action could be on the ground of illegality, irrationality, and procedural impropriety. He was of the opinion that proportionality could be an additional ground of review in the future. Interference with an administrative decision by applying the Wednesbury principles is restricted. Stop.